843 TV, where the Lowcountry comes to speak.
.843 TV,
where communities come to speak.
Welcome to 843 TV. We are in downtown Beaufort at the Digital Corridor Base Camp, and we've got a lot of great guests today with a lot of important topics. So first up, we have CarltonBDallas, who is the managing director of the Dallas International Trading and Solutions. That's quite a long list and quite an exciting background you've had in your career, just traveling all over the world. So tell us a little bit about your company and what you do.
Sure, Lisa. Thank you very much. The Dallas International Trading and Solutions is basically a consulting business. We work in that space of trying to unite suppliers or markets abroad with producers or other areas here. A lot of people outside the U.S. are really lying, dying, cheating, stealing, and killing to get into the U.S., and that especially applies to entrepreneurs. And so the U.S. is a $20 trillion market, and so people want to get here, and we help facilitate them getting here.
Wow.
Introducing new products or trying to help producers here export to foreign markets as well.
And you've been doing this here locally 10 to 12 years.
Yes.
Yes. Let's talk about the last couple of weeks and certainly month have had a lot of different events happening and a lot of discussion about concentrating economic focus on the Black community, economic development. What does this mean? Tell us a little bit about
Good question.
that.
I term that directional economics because the African American economy is $1 trillion. 5% of the 20 trillion of the U.S. economy, but it is pretty scattered. And events of the last 30 days have sort of created a unified focus. And there's a lot of talk about directing economic purchasing, targeting markets, and companies are looking at the African American economy, that demographic, as being particularly lucrative. When you look at it, it has a lot of leaders in sports, entertainment, other fields. The CEO of Merck is an African American. American Express is an African American. So there's a business platform as well. And with the emerging of the group, of the demographic, a lot of companies are seeing now that it's an opportunity to actually begin to focus more singularly on what are the needs and interests of that particular demographic. So it's a growth opportunity for people. One other thing, mentioning back to the international aspect, one of the things that's really sort of beginning to happen is that African Americans here in the U.S. are developing links to African entrepreneurs in Africa and elsewhere. The EB-5 Immigrant Investor Visa Program, which Ivanka and Jared Kushner presented to Premier Xi in China, is something that's been in effect since 1993. And so China has almost 300,000 millionaires. Africa has almost 1,500 billionaires, and people don't know that. So that link is being created.
Absolutely not. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So that's very educational. How do you digest and break that down to how does that help us here, or how can that be helpful here to the African American community right in Beaufort County?
Absolutely. Two things. One is foreign direct investment. So anytime a foreign invests capital in the U.S., it benefits us, frees up our capital opportunity to actually invest it elsewhere. So it attracts more investment, more jobs. When we can have businesses created here, particularly if they export, then the job is here, and America needs jobs. So that's one of the things that benefit. Now, as far as the demographic, how it appeals there, is I have been in the jungles of South America. I've been in the jungles of Africa, far, very lucrative areas. And you see American brands there. Out in the middle of nowhere, you see a gentleman wearing a Coca-Cola shirt. That shows the value of the American mercantilism.
Yeah.
And so there's a real attraction towards that. People want to be a part of it.
And we were talking earlier, and again, perspective is a huge thing. You've been all over the world, and you've got such an amazing background to offer and so forth. And let's talk about Tim Scott, a U.S. Senator Tim Scott, who's one of the primary co-sponsors. Wonderful man.
Yes.
Had a pleasure to meet him once before. He's a co-sponsor of this Opportunity Zones.
Yes.
Let's talk about what that is.
That was a tremendous effort between Senator Scott and Senator Booker of New Jersey. Opportunity zones, they actually identify by census tracts where are the gaps in income, high unemployment, maybe not as rich an educational achievement, and it is a structured effort to direct jobs and investments there. Here's how it works. Beaufort County has 3 of them as well. One up in Seabrook, one north of the city, and then actually one on Hilton Head, which our Economic Development Corporation is actually working to attract businesses. But let's say I've invested in a business and I'm ready to liquidate or move that investment somewhere else. I can actually sell it, have the liquidity. If I move that liquidity to an opportunity zone and I keep it there for 10 years, I pay no capital gains taxes. That is a tremendous investment. So you're helping the investor, you're helping the community. It's a win-win. And President Trump was absolutely anxious to sign it, so it's been a great event, great progress.
If someone has a business or wants to find out a little bit more about it, how do they get started? This seems like such a huge subject and a lot to digest that I think we could talk the whole show about it.
Yeah.
Where can they start? How would they go about it to get a hold of you?
Two real good avenues, Lisa. The first is we have our very own John O'Toole, who's Executive Director of the Beaufort County Economic Development Corporation. He works very, very well in that space. He's working and to get people into these opportunity zones. Just Google Beaufort County EDC.org. That's one. The other is through the South Carolina Department of Commerce. They have a very strong effort and support of South Carolina Regional Development Alliance as well as our local Economic Development Corporation. So those two are easy ways to get there. Just Google it, Opportunity Zones, Beaufort, South Carolina.
Google it, of course. That's what a wonderful way to do everything. And so any last words on, give us a recap of a picture of how you see that economic development right here in Beaufort County going, what direction? And
yeah, well, I see it as being very, very positive. We have been very fortunate. We've had various iterations of economic development here. This particular iteration with our chair, Ashley Feaster, and director, John O'Toole, is just performing beyond anything I've seen before. And I was a vice chair of the Hilton Head Island Economic Development Corporation. We have the assets, we have the talent, we have the space, we have both ends of the spectrum, from small footprint, high intellectual property opportunities on Hilton Head to space up here in northern Beaufort. And we can present the quality of life, which is so important.
Absolutely. Plus a wonderful environment to do it in.
Wonderful environment.
So much wealth of information to talk about with you, and it's been very educational. So I hope you all will stay right here. We're going to be back with more 843 TV.